Hey, I want to share something with you here. People have been wondering about COVID-19 and Bible prophecy. Like, is there a connection anywhere? Is there any prophecy in the Bible or anything? Does the Bible say anything about COVID-19? Well, I want to share this with you here, a few thoughts here, and you can consider them, weigh them out for yourself, and see what you think. If you go back to Matthew 24, the disciples, they came to Jesus and they said, "Lord, what will be the sign of your return and of the end of the age?" And he replies to that, and he goes on to say the things that must happen before the end of the age, before his return. But then he says, when you see the abomination of desolation, as spoken of by the prophet Daniel. Okay, and then he goes on to say a little bit more, and he says that's basically the sign that a very difficult time is going to come upon the earth, referred to as the Great Tribulation. And so when we look at this, we say, well, this sounds like a pretty important piece of information. Well, let's go back and see what the prophet Daniel says, because Jesus referred to prophet Daniel. So let's go back and see what the prophet Daniel says. So we go back and we look at Daniel 12, and Daniel 12, he refers to, and he says, from the time the regular sacrifice is abolished, and that word for abolished actually means to set aside. When the regular sacrifice, from the time the regular sacrifice is set aside, we'll replace that word there, and from the time the regular sacrifice is set aside and the abomination of desolation is set up, there will be 1,290 days. Okay, so this regular sacrifice back in Daniel's day was a lamb in the morning and a lamb in the evening, which was sacrificed. There was a sacrificial lamb that was offered, literally a lamb. Okay, but nowadays that doesn't really apply, because we read in the book of Hebrews that Jesus fulfilled every sacrifice. All the sacrifices were fulfilled. We read that it's impossible for the blood of bulls or goats to forgive sins. So there's only one sacrifice that remains, and it's the blood of Jesus, and we receive that, through our faith in Him. He's the only sacrifice, the only payment for sin, the only way that we can have a relationship with God is through the blood of Jesus. He instituted this only sacrifice. He referred to it as the new covenant. At the Last Supper, he says to his disciples, he says, "Take, eat, this is my body, which is broken for you." And he gives them the cup, and he says, "Drink from it, all of you. This is the new covenant in my blood, poured out for the forgiveness of sins." And so this is the new covenant. This is the only sacrifice that remains, and it's been going on for 2,000 years until COVID-19. All over the world, it's been going on for 2,000 years until COVID-19. On March 14th, 15th, the first weekend that the Catholic Church and many others, stopped Mass services, and with it, communion, the body and the blood of the Lord, has not been offered. It's the regular sacrifice has been set aside. This is actually referred to, communion is actually referred to as the perpetual sacrifice. It's been set aside. Okay. So if this is the case, I know Bible prophecies is difficult. I know that, and I'm just throwing this out. I want you to consider this. But if the regular sacrifice has been set aside, according to the prophet Daniel, that it'd be 1,290 days until the abomination of desolation was set up, and then, some very difficult times. Interesting little piece on there. 1,290 days from March 14th, 15th, comes out to like Yom Kippur on 2023, which is the most holy day in the Jewish calendar, which is associated with judgment. Okay. It's something to think about. This is something to consider. If then, what happens? It's time to get ready. It's time to put aside all the other things. Seek the Lord with your whole heart. I mean, it's always a good time to seek the Lord with your whole heart, but I think now more than ever. Okay. Hope I can encourage you with that.